Well, Wish for Christmas is about a spoiled, self-centered senior girl in high school who, when the big winter ball gets moved to Christmas Eve night, she can't attend because she has to go to church with her family. And she makes a wish that her parents wouldn't believe in God anymore. And when she wakes up, she finds out that the light of Jesus has been removed from her parents' heart. And they become a reflection of her, self-centered, spoiled, all about themselves. So not only does she see herself in her parents, she goes on a journey to find faith to bring her parents back to faith. And this is such a delightful movie. As a minister's kid, when I was a young girl, I used to always get mad at my parents, being like, well, if they didn't believe in God, I would get away with more things. Or, oh, and as an adult, when I thought about that, I thought, wow, that's a really good message for young people to realize that don't take for granted if your parents have faith and are instilling values in you. And my parents were so involved in my life. They knew everything I was doing. What if they didn't care about my life? Or, so then we just started exploring that conversation of what would it look like if I could wish my parents' faith away? And that's where the whole thing came from, just a really fun sort of wish movie that turns into a really big heart. What would people be like if they lost the light of Jesus?
Yeah, I love the lessons that you learn in all of your movies, but this one was a very big lesson. And I have to ask you now, you had your family members in this. This movie, was your brother in it?
Yes.
I thought so. Your brother was in it, your sister was in it, your
Yeah.
nieces were in it, right?
Yes.
Who else was in it?
My parents are extras. So the coolest thing about Wish for Christmas is we shot in my hometown in Georgetown, Massachusetts. So I had come up with the concept of what the movie would be about. I was talking to my father, and my father said, well, why don't you come shoot the movie in my church? And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Let me look into filming a movie in Massachusetts. So I went home and I actually met with all the people in my hometown. I met with my high school that I graduated. I met with I used to work at Cider Hill Farms at that farm that's in the movie. So it ended up becoming the most amazing family film. My parents housed 6 crew members. And we literally shot in our graduating high school, in my father's church. And my father was actually just about to retire. And he was so happy that we filmed the movie at his church as like a legacy for my father's legacy. My father was at Byfield Parish Church for 41 years. And
Wow.
so it was quite an incredible thing that I think God brought our entire community together. I hired girls that I went to high school with who worked behind
Wow.
the camera. So yeah, my whole family, my brother Andrew was the locations manager. My brother Alex flew in to be in it. My sister obviously produced it and wrote it. And I think it's one of the most incredible things I've ever done was to go home and bring opportunity for my hometown to give jobs, to show the locations, to promote Georgetown, Massachusetts. It was definitely a highlight of my life. In fact, a year later, we went to my high school to premiere it, and 850 people showed up to the premiere of Wish for Christmas.
That was such a great movie. And I just want to tell everybody, if you get a chance to see it, it's on Tubi. I watched it like a weekend ago. It was amazing, amazing stuff.
And it has a fantastic cast. We have Joey Lawrence and Lee
Yes.
Allen Baker and Bill Engvall and Chelsea Crockett, who is a huge YouTuber. And I mean, God really blessed that movie. And, our budgets are sometimes smaller than a Hollywood budget, but I think because our stories are so good, we're able to attract star names. And the fact that we got Joey Lawrence and Bill Engvall, and so it's got a great cast, and everyone does such a good job, and it's a delightful message. And I think it's really important for young people. I think as a young person, we really take for granted some things, and this movie hopefully will remind young people not to take for granted.
The Greatest Inheritance.
Yeah, so The Greatest Inheritance is about an estranged family that all returns home to bury their mother, but really to get their inheritance. And when they get home, they find out that their deceased mother buried the deed to the estate somewhere on the property, and she left them clues and challenges that they have to do together as a family to find the deed. ultimately trying to bring her family back together and teaching them that the only thing we inherit on earth is the kingdom of heaven.
Mm.
And I love this movie. It was one of my favorite cast and crews. We actually shot this film in July of 2020. So we were in the height of COVID. And I'm telling you, God protected our set every single day. We were able to get Mina Suvari and Jaleel White. And I mean, the Jeff Schroeder. We have like an all-star cast in The Greatest Inheritance. And we shot it all on one location. The crew was amazing. We shot in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, in Columbus, Georgia. And I think, again, everyone who signed on to this movie was that they believed in the message and the story of bringing families together. And my sister and I mean, a lot of the family in The Greatest Inheritance, we definitely write what we know. So there's a little bit of each of us in this movie. And we kind of laugh that my mom, will still be telling us what to do from the grave. So we thought that was funny, and just like a really illustration of the only thing that we inherit on earth is the kingdom of heaven. And when somebody passes away, the fights that happen for inheritance and money, and it's ripped families apart.
Mhm.
And it's just so sad to think that that could happen. And so we wanted to address that in a movie and find a really fun, delightful way to talk about your family. And that one of our hopes was that someone would watch the movie and pick up the phone and call a family member they haven't talked to in a while and say, I want to reconcile, because life is precious and it's short, and there's nothing that can't be forgiven on earth.